The universe has reset and GozyuPolar has taken the stage. Episode 16 of Gozyuger opens exactly how episode 1 did. Hawaru's working at a store, the manager is beefing him, and there's a robbery. But immediately, two things are different. Nasume is nowhere to be seen. Turns out the actor just obviously was doing Boom Boom just stuff at the time, so he couldn't film. But Nasume doesn't exist in this timeline, or at least in this period of time in the timeline. And instead of the robber having a hot sausage, or a hot dog, it's a sausage on a stick, he has a really cold ice lolly. He drops it, Hawaru catches it, and they're about to fight just like in episode 1 until Mashiro Kodame steps in. He whoops his ass, still rewarding him with the ice lolly, and tells him to rethink his life, and then pays for everyone in the store's groceries. Brother has shown up and said, "I am the GOAT." He then introduces himself to the people of the store, saying he's out to change the world and that he fears no gods. We then meet the Devil's Collector, Bear Kuma, Mashiro's robotic sidekick that prints an invoice for the help they gave. This season's Yaruka is a small polar bear who is financially driven. I already love it. I want it. I want him. I want him on the shelf. We then roll the intro and it is completely different. Not only does it mainly highlight GozyuPolar over the other Rangers, but it's just a GozyuPolar theme song rather than a Gozyuger theme song. Very cool. I did like it. An absolute bop, but I do hope we change back soon. Because you just can't beat, you just go. Winner number 1. Hawaru chases him out of the store, refusing to pay. There's a back and forth before Mashiro taps Hawaru on the forehead, causing him to regain his memory. Okay, so here's the thing, and this will unravel throughout the episode, kind of, but there's a main point I want to get to which doesn't. Obviously, the universe was sort of rewritten, and the Gozyugers weren't the Gozyugers anymore. Or like time reversed, and like Mashiro started to exist, and all this stuff. But then Mashiro just tapped Hawaru on the forehead, and he remembered everything. Why can Mashiro do that? As I said, there's some things that we'll get on to that kind of explain bits and bobs, but that, like as far as we know, Mashiro wasn't in the universe that we just came from. Like, we never saw him, and if we did, he definitely wasn't GozyuPolar or Gozyuger at all for that matter, in the universe that we just had. So how can he bring back Hawaru's memories? How does he know who Hawaru is? And what? Explain, please, someone in the comments. Hawaru races off to the half century to find his team, but it just doesn't exist. There's a door there, which I don't know is part of his imagination, or if there really is a door that leads to nothing. And he starts to see all of his friends. First of all, he sees Ryugi and Sayori in matching outfits, dancing with each other, and Ryugi is singing like a parody of his Tiger Sword ballad, but this time it's all about how amazing Sayori is. Sumino then steps out of a building with some dried radish. Hawaru questions why someone as luxurious as her is doing all this, and she's like, I live a very organic life and economical life. I don't know what you're talking about. Very strange. Rikuo then shows up on a motel balcony above them and starts panicking because he's about to fail his 8th entrance exam to a college, and he just looks an absolute mess. And then Joji, not Kinjiro, Joji, rocks up behind them with a carer. And he's just on a little day out looking at some flowers. Universe Reset really did a number on the rest of the team, and they are really nothing like they ever used to be. But this is where Hawaru reaches into his pocket and he finds that he has his Goju wolf ring. And he's like, I don't know how I got it, but I do. Puts it on, and finally Tegasort appears and he's like, I'm so glad you put it on. I can communicate with you now. The others can't see me, nobody else can see me, but you can. He is like their size though, and I don't know. I don't like it. Please, this isn't a Boondari or Boondiesel situation. Please stop. Tegasort says only Hawaru can see him because the Goju wolf ring is the only one intact. We saw in the last episode that Kwon took Hawaru's ring, whereas the other rings disintegrated. And it seems that because Kwon did this, it has some sort of tie-in. My theory would be that I guess he knew what would happen and is maybe trying to work against Tegajun in a weird way, which sounds not... like, nothing has implied that would be the case, but why would he have taken Hawaru's ring? Because we see in a cutaway that the Boraiden castle in the Boraiden world had no change. Like, that sub-pocket dimension is intact, so I don't know what's going on there. But it's very interesting, and there's more about it later on. We learn that the human world is still imperfect despite Tegajun's effort. Tegasort explains that the ritual did occur, but it really did need all the Sentai rings, rather than just, what was it, like 10? That Tegajun had, plus the fact that we're in June, so she was up higher power, like, it needed all the rings. And actually, in Tegasort's words, the universe wasn't actually reset, but more so, its code was haphazardly rewritten, rather than completely reset. So it's the same world, but just a lot of cross wires. This entire scene also takes place similar to Hoyaru and Nasume's chat in episode 1. And seeing the Tegasord just sat next to him like that, just stop, please. I don't want to see it no more. I don't know why. You know, like when people have like those irrational fears, like they see holes and stuff and they're like, oh, stuff. I don't know why, but Tegasord being normal height, freaking me out. I don't like it. Tegasord then also says that the only person who can fix what Tegajun has done is Teganagaru, aka Teganakle. Though for the purposes of this being a Japanese name, I feel like Teganagaru is probably the more appropriate thing to say. Although I keep botching the pronunciation. Teganagaru, they say it a few times in the episode. But, spoiler alert, it's about to change anyway. All of a sudden, Treasure Hunt number 1 and Party People number 1 show up. Hoyaru's very confused as he knows they defeated them, and that's when Tegasord drops another big bomb where he says not only has like the rewriting of the universe caused them to come back, but now there's no longer a human captive inside them. They no longer need to possess a human with a similar wish and ideal to them. They can just enter the human world. Bouquet shows up in search for the prince's ring, discovering Mashiro in the process. Mashiro, stood on the same balcony that Ryugi and Rikuo were stood on in episode 2, leaps down as Bear Kuma fights with Bouquet. And this is where a theory I had comes true, and I'm so happy about it. Tegasord and Mashiro do know each other because Mashiro was the original pilot of Tegasord in the episode 1 Universe War Calamity Battle that we saw. We found out in the last episode that Kwon needed to pilot Tegajun because she needed a pilot. I was like, maybe Mashiro was the original pilot for Tegasord, and it was right. Not only that, Mashiro was the original winner of the Universe War. We're currently in the 3rd rewrite of the universe. The first one was Mashiro when he wins. The second one is when the world was reset and Hoyaru and Sumino and Kinjiro and they'll get their powers. And this is the 3rd, as far as we know anyway. There could have been even more, but as far as we know, this is the 3rd iteration. Anyway, not only was Mashiro the pilot of Tegasord, but he was the original Goju Wolf. This GozyuPolar thing, all these shenanigans, have come from this universe reset, and I hope that we're going to sort of delve into that as the episodes go on, and sort of how he took to becoming GozyuPolar, and like what sort of went on with him during the universe reset. But he was Goju Wolf way back when, and was there another team? I don't know, but Mashiro was the original winner. He was Goju Wolf. Insane work. I think that Tegasord obviously also needs a pilot. Therefore, when he was fighting in the Universe War that we saw in episode 1 and episode 0, I think Mashiro was the pilot. Mashiro then lifts up his Teganagaru, slams it together, starts doing all the punching and henchins for the first time. Love the henshin, and I love that his sort of like boxing MMA jacket stays on over the suit. He throws it off, and then the spikes of his shield, like it is all the vest, like forming with ice. Looks so cool. I don't need to tell you guys how much I love the suit. I've already done 2 videos already doing that. One was a highlight just to do that. I mean, it's a peak suit. Mashiro then starts taking on the bad guys solo before pissing Hoyaru off enough that he harnesses Tegasord into his Tegasord, and of course he henshins the Goju Wolf. Mashiro's like, oh, that look takes me back, and he's like, fuck you, shut up, we need to figure something out. So Hoyaru starts fighting the bad guys, and then Mashiro comes in with a swing from behind, and like nothing, just turns his head, grabs it. Oh, sheesh. Then the 1v1 battle for this episode is Hoyaru versus Mashiro, but not like fighting 1v1. Number 1 battle to see who is the number one, if you get what I mean. So they're going to both fight different monsters. Mashiro's going to do Treasure Hunt, Hoyaru's going to do Party People, and whoever wins first, I guess, or easiest, is the winner and is the number one. Mashiro almost instantly kills Treasure Hunt. He uses Bear Kuna as like a blaster and is just slicing through the floor, and then just like blows him up with ice. And Hoyaru sees it and he's like, alright, fair. But then Teganagaru spawns from a big circle in the ground, and of course, for all intents and purposes, at this point he's kind of a newborn baby. Like, he's not, but he is. And he starts going crazy, he starts smashing up buildings, kind of almost like crying. And Mashiro's like, shut up, you big whining baby. He swings a punch down on him. Mashiro just lifts his fist and blocks the punch, and then runs up his arm, punches him in the face, and then ends up in like his equivalent of the Tegasord Void, or only this is on ice, and there's like a blizzard. It's very polar bear themed. Everything to do with him is ice themed. And so he's talking to Teganagaru we'll just shortly I'll be able to stop doing this. He's talking to him in the ice, and he's like, what's going on? And then Teganagaru's saying, well, I'm the Prince of Darkness, I'm the Prince of Evil, and all this stuff, but I don't know what's right, what's wrong, who to fight for. And that's when Mashiro's like, fight with me, be my partner, be my mecha, and we will both become number one. Now at this point, Teganagaru is in a big like ice prison, I guess. He's frozen over, but Mashido punches it, creates a big hole there. He says, I'm Mashido, you know, I'm GozyuPolar. What's your name? And this is when he says, I'm the Prince of Darkness, Nagaru, Teganakal. To which Mashido's like, that name is a bit of a mouthful. Thank you. And he says, I'm going to give you a new name. And then he kind of makes a fist, and then he does this, and he does bang, and just do a variety of random fucking words. He names him Goodaburn, or Goodburn, or either way, I still can't pronounce the things, but it's easier than Teganakal, whatever. But back in the real world, Mashido now pilots Goodburn as his mech. And he actually ends up going against Fire Candle in King Candler once again, just like the first 2 episodes of Gozyuger. And this sets up a really interesting dynamic whereby Mashido and Goodburn, obviously it's sounded like boxing MMA themed, so that's what the battle is. It's boxing rather than like swords and like kicks and all that stuff, and it was a really entertaining fight to watch. You know, there was some punches thrown, and of course there's fire versus ice, so in theory fire should win, but I guess Mashido's that cold that he just kind of freezes King Candler. And then Fire Candle's like, I will return again, and then zips through the little portal, as he did the first time round. Then back on the ground, the other Gozyugers show up, dressed in their normal clothes, with their Goju rings. Haoru then says to them, you're back to normal, and then Sumino's like, what do you mean back to normal? What are you chatting? And then they're like, oh, look, we'll figure this out later, we gotta fight party people number 1, he's back somehow. So here's my theory. Obviously, Mashido tapped Haoru on the head and brought all his memories back. I think either Tegaso did that, somehow, with the rest of the team, or Kuon also has something to do with it. And the rings disintegrating wasn't the rings being wiped out, but it was something to do with them going to Tegajun, at which Kwon then was able to take them and give them back. But I don't know what purpose he'd have to do that. But something weird's going on, and they don't explain it in the episode. In fact, the other Rangers kind of act weird. They kind of like they're saying things to Haoru like, you're acting different today and stuff like that. Maybe there's like 2 iterations of them, like the Sumino, Ryugi, Rikuo, and Kinjiro of this world, which is the ones we saw earlier, but then these guys are from a separate world, which also implies that Haoru is from this world, but now with his memories, and there's another Haoru out there. Either way, they hench and assist Haoru against party people number 1, and they end up combining all their finishers to do one big final strike, destroying party people number 1. Mashido ends up winning the versus battle, I guess making him the new leader of the Gozyugers, and he now says that he is in the hunt for the rings. However, he will not be taking any shit from Tegasword. He's like, I don't respect Tegasword. He then pulls out the Ninja ring, realizing that Haoru no longer has it, and it's Mashido's, and he turns it blue, making it the GozyuPolar ring, or making all the rings blue, or the ring is blue now, implying that it's his. And then he also says that his wish, his dream, is to be a god, and he says that he will one day succeed over Tegasword, and that's the wish, and that's why he's going to find all the rings. Then the episode ends. I loved it. I've seen some people online saying it didn't live up to the hype. I mean, we're on episode 16 of like 48. I don't know what hype there was other than a GozyuPolar entrance and the sort of the new world that we've been born into, which I thought paid off really nicely. I love that we went back to episode 1 and we got to relive that again. I can't wait to see what goes on with the other 4 and what their situation is with their memories and their alter egos and everything that we saw throughout the episode. And I just can't wait for more of the dynamic between Mashido and the rest of the team, especially Haoru. And I'd love to see some flashback episodes, even if just one of the old team with Mashido as Goju Wolf, because even seeing him with that ring on was quite cool. What were your thoughts on this episode and on Mashido in general? Let me know in the comments. Also, a huge thank you to Sarah Jane, our Super Dynamo Patreon. It is much appreciated.